You are now listening to a member of the Disney Podcast family. Head over to Disney Podcast Family on Instagram to see all the latest posts for this show and links to other great Disney podcasts.
There was an idea. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more.
I have an army.
We have a Hulk.
This is the Marvel Tribe, brought to you by Walt's Apartment Podcast and the DisInsider.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to the Marvel Tribe. We are a group of like-minded individuals who have come together to bring you all things from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the comics, and what's to come from the rest of the MCU. We've got Sam, the podcast princess, our blurred Hulk, and Lou Knight. We're all together tonight to talk to you about episode 1 of season 2 of What If.
Man, they came out on all cylinders firing. I love it. Just initial little quick summary take. I love it, and I like where they're going with this. And I can't wait to talk about this episode in particular.
Yes. So this episode that we're going to be talking about, we get what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps.
Yep.
Overall rankings. What did you guys think of this episode? Lou Knight?
I gave it an 8.
That is high coming from Louis because he hates everything.
That he hates everything. Seriously, that is high, and that's good. I give it a 9. I love film noir, and they really, that detective gritty kind of love that stuff. So that was really good.
I'm also going to give it a 9, and I posted this in our chat earlier when we were talking, and I said this is my favorite What If episode to date because we had season 1 last season. This was my favorite episode to date.
That's big.
It is.
I don't know if it's my favorite one. I really like the T'Challa Guardians one. I think it was episode 2 in the first season.
That was a great one too. Yeah.
I really like that one. For me, this one's up there, but not. It's not. Let's see how many episodes we have. I think we have with this one. It's 11 now. Didn't they do 10 the first season?
Yeah, it's gonna be every day until the new year. So I would say this is maybe breaking top 5 of the What If episodes, but not a lot of strength for that. But it's up there, which is odd because I ranked the entire What If season 1. I think I got 8. So,
yeah, you were a big fan. As far as one episode a day until the new year, we are also going to try and do that. So, if you are fiending for some more tribe content, here you are. We are going to do our very best to try and get you an episode each night after we've watched the episode that is released that day. So, this is our New Year's countdown coming to you from the show. You guys want to dive in with the play-by-play?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, real quick, hold on. I want to touch on the whole every day. I really like that concept because tonight at the crack of 12:01, I got to hop on Disney Plus and watch episode 2. Like, it's not a long enough gap where I'm losing it, but at the same time, like, I can't wait for tonight to see where it goes because it's like, hell yeah, I just watched it this morning. I'll watch it again tonight. And if I keep that tradition going, it's going to be solid. But I like this whole everyday thing. Disney, do that. If you're going to give us baby gap short episodes, give us an everyday episode.
This satisfies the binge watching me. I told you Netflix, obviously got us all hooked on binging and stuff. And they're trying to kind of pull back. Even Netflix is trying to pull back on there by like maybe only giving you a few episodes or doing a weekly thing. And people just aren't feeling it, myself included. This everyday thing, you got me engaged. I can do this. You're kind of tapering me off a little. This is how you fix my addiction and just kind of, every day. I don't know if I would be up to that 12:01. I will go to bed, and then knowing when I wake up in the morning after a good night's rest, I can watch a new episode of the next season, of What If. So I'm liking it.
I'm with David. Because especially for y'all, it releases at midnight for your time.
Yeah,
that's
Pacific.
2 a.m. here. And I was awake at 2:00 this morning, but I was too brain dead to try and process something that we were going to talk about. So definitely waited until today to watch it. I had to wait until after work, but it was my last day of work until January 8th. So now I get to just be here and consume the content when I'm able to and give it to the tribe that night. So excited. I'm excited for how we're going to do this. And I look forward to these nightly conversations with you guys. Bertolk, you want to take the play-by-play?
So I love this because it kind of opens up. And again, What If, just for those who don't know, it's not necessarily canon to what goes on, at least on the timeline that we follow. They could be very much canon on some of the other timelines, as you'll see as these episodes develop. But this one kind of opens up after there's this big war. Obviously, Ronan defeated
Ronan the Accuser defeats Thanos.
Yep, he double-crossed them, and she fell in the mix of it, and she got left for dead, floating out adrift in space among rubble until
they did point out that Gamora was also destroyed.
Yes.
Because we know that Nebula's will is kind of tied to her sister.
Yep, 100%.
So Thanos and Gamora, they're gone. Ronan took them out, and Nebula is floating off into deep space until she is collected.
Yeah, so the Nova Corps shows up, and we get Nova Prime, who decides to utilize Nebula in her ranks. I mean, she is, as it points out later, a Omega class cybernetics sentient being. So, Nova Prime rescued her, and for that gratitude, gave her a home. She as loyal as Nebula is, which she is. I mean, you can ask the Guardians. She pledged her oath to the Nova Corps, and she was dead serious about that. So it's kind of cool. She's kind of this rock star kind of Nova Corps officer, and living on Xandar, kind of protecting everything and stuff.
Staying true to her oath.
Yes, absolutely. Some of her compadres don't like her, but hey, when you're good, you're going to get hate. That's just
we learn later that they aren't as bright and light as they pretend to be.
Yes. So so let me just start this part. So the premise is that is the Ronan thing trying to? Yeah, I think before the Zandu's death. The premise is that Ronan is on this tirade to kind of destroy planets and rule over everything, and they went to battle with Xander, and the Nova Corps, pushed them back as much as they can, but they realized that they were going to lose to Ronan, the Accuser, and his Kree army, so they decided to lock down planet Xandar, which is huge because they're known for their free trade. They're open to the universe and everyone in the galaxy and stuff. So to lock themselves down, that's a huge deal. So, and
by lockdown, an entire planetary shield is put up surrounding them. Nothing is coming in. No one is going out. Nope. There is a shield, and Ronan the Accuser is right out there with his fleet, ready to basically come in and destroy Xandar. So.
Yep. So they lock the place up, and that's the only thing they can do is live underneath that shield on that planet in isolation from all the other planets in the galaxy. This obviously causes turmoil and unruliness and fighting, and so the crime rate on Xandar goes up and keeps the Nova Corps pretty busy. And one particular crime happened this night. Nebula got called out to help investigate and found that it was her good friend Yondu, who is alive in this particular timeline. Not actually, he was alive. He's not. He was found dead. So he was found dead, and when she got to the scene, just as the same as everyone else, the lead guy is like, well, we're done here. A criminal got what he deserved and wanted to close and sweep up this case very quickly. And that really kind of set off some alarm bells for Nebula, which, you know, I mean, she
said. I like what she said about her like counterparts, her partners essentially, were looking for the weapon of whoever had done this to Yondu instead of looking for Yondu's weapon.
Correct.
Because she knows Yondu personally. She has that ability to pull up their memories. So then she's able to call his arrow to her. And that is when she finds out that there is a schematic or a blueprint of something that cannot be identified.
Which adds to the mystery even more. Yes. I love stuff like this. So the fact is, she gets a little after she gets a little coded message from Nova Prime, who is telling her, I want you to go off book, do whatever you need to do, and figure out what is actually happening here, because I'm afraid Xander won't last through the night and stuff, like really trying to hype up the sense of urgency here. And she's like, yeah, I promise. But you know how she is. She's very much always suspicious, kind of Sherlock Holmes kind of deal. So she decided to start pursuing things and ends up at one of the coolest bars on the planet here, that happens to be owned by none other than the famous Howard the Duck. Boo. I can't stand that character. I know you guys.
Oh my gosh, his character was fantastic in this episode.
Yeah,
I loved it. Like when we go up and they're like, you can't interrupt him when he's on a
hot streak.
A hot streak.
Yeah.
You get up and it's Howard the Duck, and you're like, of course it is. Of course it is.
I like Howard as much as you like Spider-Man. I mean, it's I don't know. What's your thoughts so far, Lou?
So for me, the opening, it really had like a Blade Runner vibe for me. I really liked it. But what I really liked about this episode's opening is one thing that I didn't quite like it makes sense for the title, but the one thing I liked at the opening of this episode is it wasn't a mission that we were familiar with. It wasn't, Captain Rogers in the first episode of season 1 where it was Captain America's story, but instead it was Captain Carter instead of Captain America. Like it's the same blueprint with a little bit of different salt and pepper. This one, the only thing that was similar was Ronan attacking Xandar, but at the same time, he's attacking it because he just took out Thanos, which in the movies was flip-flop. So I liked that there was not a lot of parallel timeline. There was characters that we knew, and then like you saw Groot, you saw Drax, you didn't see Rocket, you didn't see Star-Lord, so they didn't play too much in the Guardians. You saw Korg, you saw Meek, you didn't see Thor. So I liked that it was a melting pot of, yes, these guys, but this story's new. And that first half of it, I really liked. The second half, we'll talk about more. The second half kind of went back to what we're familiar with for the most part, but I liked it. And then introducing Howard the Duck, we see him in the MCU, but now we're starting to get more weight to this character. And I really liked the role he played. I think Seth Green did a solid job voicing him. Being this mob boss / not mob boss, like this casino manager that's got a heart but still has greed. Like I really enjoyed it. But for me, Nebula's character though in this episode, I think this animated version of Nebula was probably the better Nebula that we have seen in the entire MCU.
I agree. There was
I liked her
way
in
more
Guardians
personality.
3. But yeah, exactly. There was personality, but darkness to her. And I liked the way they created her in this episode of What If.
So I would say this. I agree with what you're saying. I think the only reason why we get to see more of Nebula because she's a star. This is her episode. She always played a sidekick or a background role. And the other, I mean, especially in Guardians, I mean, there's so many personalities and stuff. She she's not going to get a chance to shine when it comes to that because she's not in the top tier list of the stars on that. Like it would have been Gamora, Star-Lord, Groot was even a bigger feature in the Guardians than she was. So this is really her first breakout. I guess the best way to say it, breakout role to really get to see who Nebula is. So, and I love that. I love that they really kind of dug into her personality and brought that more, how she thinks, how she ticks, how she works and stuff. So that was really well done.
Yeah. I liked it. I'm curious though, how much Guardians weight, because I mean, obviously Nebula, Zendari, and stuff like that. I was obviously introduced when you're going MCU, very heavy in the What If series. The Guardians, I don't want to say storyline, but the Guardians realm, the realm that you saw a lot of places and characters, really plays a strong presence in this episode. But I also think it plays a strong presence in the What If timeline. Like Guardians really has a strong stand in the whole What If series. I mean, there's a lot of Guardians from what we know of MCU, but what we know about comics as well. There's a lot of Guardians narrative. So I'm curious what's going to come in season 2. Are we going to still continue that trend? If so, I'm down for it. But at the same time, I'm almost impatient that I want to be like, can we get something different? I mean, I thought the T'Challa and Guardians episode, like I said at the beginning, that's my favorite one. But at the same time, I want to see more of the what if concept. Let's really go down that rabbit hole. But overall, this was an episode that I think is one to remember.
I think that they showed us incredible versatility and variety in the first season. And I know, or I don't know, but I believe that we are to expect that in the second season. And I don't think we will get another Guardians-esque episode. I think we're going to get different content.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, they also have this set up for 20 seasons if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's an infinite amount of possibilities. I do not think that we are going to get much Guardians after today, as far as What If goes for this season. We may see them one more time, but I don't think that it's going to be Guardians heavy.
I agree. And the thing is, the goal is What If is to kind of bring people in with familiar characters, but then riff on the storylines and change it up. And that's what we're getting. I think the first season was the key on introducing what's the possibility and what the potential is. And kind of really, it was almost like setting up the rules of what a what if is, right? And so they had to lean heavily in familiar characters in order to do that. This season, I think we're going to get some real new characters that we are going to love, that to the point where we want to see on the big screen. We want to see you in the MCU. I think this is going to be a bigger, better season than before and stuff, because we understand the rules and the premise of What If. It doesn't follow the main timeline, even if the stories are similar. They're going to do their own thing. We may recognize some main stars and main protagonists and antagonists and stuff here and there, but they're going to be completely different. So I'm here for it. I think it's going to be great. And speaking of great, I gotta say I love, and I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit, but there's a comedic scene in here that is one of my absolute favorite. And Lou actually hinted on that, and I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" in the chat. And then after I watched it, you have the three guys. You have the Tree Man, Mr. Groot, the Rock Man, Mr. Core, and Meek the insect who has scissors for hands playing rock, paper, scissors in the freaking bar, which is hilarious. And Korg, so I have to give it up to Korg. So who was voiced by Taika Waititi. Korg was more remnant. This Korg was more remnant of Thor Ragnarok Korg than he was so much in the Love and Thunder, that one. This one, he's funny. He doesn't try to take things. He take over and be imposing. He says those kind of quick wit kind of things, and I loved it. Like when he played rock paper scissors, he's like, I'm paper. And he was supposed to be beat by Meek, and he's like, no, but I'm paper made out of rock, so you can't beat me. So it was just hilarious. He has those quips and stuff, and I was like, this is the core that I like. So
what really nailed it for me on the rock paper scissors though, when Howard the Duck calls him, you three, rock paper scissors, let's go. I was dead. Like, I enjoyed the little comedy part where they first said it. But when he calls them rock, paper, scissors, I'm like, can we get a show or a movie? I mean, it was equivalent to Rocket, Groot, and is it Winter Soldier in Avengers Infinity War? Or no, Thor. When Thor comes down and it's him, Rocket, and Groot, you're like, we need more of those three. That's what I felt. I was laughing hysterically when they did that.
Yeah, I love that scene. And it's like when they first walk in, they're playing rock, paper, scissors, and they're talking about, he was like, no, it's not like rock, or he's like, it's not like paper. Cracked me up. Yeah. That was a great scene.
Yep.
So to get back to our play-by-play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nebula, she has the arrow, she has the schematics, and then she is, cruising, trying to figure out the pieces. And she gets a call from Nova Prime, who is telling her, I trust you. Do what you need to do to figure out what is happening here. And we later find out that triggered a red flag for Nebula, who's like, we are supposed to be of light, and we're supposed to only do things for the light. So you telling me that I need to do what I need to do is something that's just unethical. She goes over to Howard the Duck. That's where we just left off. She's over with Howard the Duck, talking, getting information, figures out from Korg that the schematics go to basically a core center. The mainframe where the codes for the planetary shield is being held. She goes to prison, breaks out someone she had arrested earlier, who is...
what's his face? Young Rog.
Yeah,
who was a Kree warrior, the same one who kidnapped Captain Marvel and stuff. So in this one, apparently, because we didn't really see at the end of Captain Marvel what happened to the Kree Empire, but we got to see it in the Marvels, that she went back and destroyed the supreme artificial intelligence there. So we have to assume that, Kree Empire was scattered. Young Rog decided to become a criminal. He's no longer a soldier, and he got caught, and thrown in the jail
by Nebula.
Yep.
So Nebula helps break him out of prison, and she takes him to the hub, essentially, where the codes are being held. He breaks her into it. She plugs herself into the core to download the codes, and he does a switch on her, and he's like, you're going to die, and I'm taking these codes, and I am working for Ronan the Accuser, and we're going to put the shield down.
Yep.
So he takes off. She's drowning. She gets kicked out through a tunnel after an explosion. And at that point, we find out that it is Nova Prime who has Young Rog basically on her payroll to help Ronan the Accuser, because he's promised her power, because she feels like she's failed. Well, she obviously realizes that putting up the planetary shield was a failure, and it is causing all of this chaos. And then we get to see these cool battle scenes between Nebula and the Nova Corps. They are kicking her butt, but she comes back, powers through, takes over, gets jumps off of a cliff over a waterfall, and they're like, we're going to say end of watch. She's a cyborg. You're not going to get end of watch that way. Like, they were just lazy. The Nova Corps are lazy. As we saw in the opening scene, one of the opening scenes with the Yondu crime scene investigation, they are lazy. She then has a battle with Nova Prime, tells her, I trusted you, and they hash that out, and Nova Prime falls to her death, and the shield is closed up. Actually, she closes the shield when she gets into the ship because she realized, like I said earlier, that Nova Prime told her to do whatever it was going to take. She realized that she had been infiltrated, realized that she was no longer the pure light being that she was supposed to be. So she had altered the codes so that she could manipulate them. Shield closes. As it's closing in and crushing the ships from Ronan the Accuser's fleets, she falls to her death. And then we get basically Nebula, who not only destroyed the fleet that was trying to infiltrate and annihilate Xandar, but also destroys the shields, allowing sunlight in and allowing this beautiful existence to come back into Xandar that hadn't been there and that was destroying people. Like, can you imagine the depression that would come from being in absolute darkness for months and years? Because the shield was up for 50 years, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be 50 years.
It's supposed to be. It's
but I'm saying the shield wasn't going to come down for 50 years. Can you imagine
it was going to
how
be
long it was going to be?
For the next 50 years, and then it'll automatically retract and stuff.
So Nebula saved the day.
Yep. Well, not only that. So I just want to say this. So Nebula, through incredibly sleuth, like we're talking like Batman prep. She not only took out Nova Prime, figured out her bullshit. She took out Ronan. She literally saved an entire planet and stuff because she was so attentive to what she was doing in that oath that she took. So I love this episode. I mean, the fact that you took out a biggie like Ronan as a side quest when you're trying to, go after Nova Prime and save the planet and stuff is amazing, because she took out, Thanos, her dad. Well, kind of her kidnapper, but that's another story. I loved it. She saved a whole bunch of other planets by just doing that, and the fact how he got taken out was similar to how Vision took out Thanos when he walked through that little portal and just freaking sliced them in half. It was so quick and easy, and had everyone's like, "Wait, are you serious? Did he really just get taken out that way?" Well, she just. Yeah, with the shields, crushed them. Boom. Entire ship gone. Dust. Planet saved. Go Nebula.
See, I didn't like the ending.
You didn't like the ending?
What would you have liked to see different?
So I wish we'd have caught a little bit personality change when Nova Prime told Nebula, like, I need to go to a dark, a non-tapped line. I wish we'd have got some type of personality, like just identifying that this is out of the norm, because it was watching it up until the plot twist when Nebula's, I set this up. There was nothing like nothing signifying that. So like, I wish they would have given us just a little bit more to identify that she caught that, because for me, it just seemed like a real, like, not a like, oh, she got you moment. It was just more of like the script leading up to there. Oh, we're gonna say she did this purposely. I just feel.
Can I push back a little bit, just a little bit, because I think
absolutely.
So knowing the character, and I've read this character and everything. She is so similar to what you would see like Data from Star Trek is. They kind of like there's fleets of that but they kind of screwed it up and tried to give her a personality when she was like in game and stuff like that. When she was talking about like the tacos and all, but they try to do. But the thing is, really is kind of like a Data. You can't read her. She's be like the world's greatest poker player. So that was really on the mark.
She's
about
emotionless unless it's coded into her system.
She's not going to show her hand and reveal it and stuff. I get what you're saying about her wanting to do that. And the Nebula that's in our MCU universe, the one that they're trying to give a personality to and do that, she probably would. She'd probably be like, says something like smartassy or something like to give us a clue that this is a red flag. But this Nebula is more true to the, like I say, Data from Star Trek. Very emotionalist, very matter of fact about what she's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Sorry,
what would you
man.
have liked to see differently other than her giving us a clue in as the audience?
Not
because for me, it like fed the disillusion further. Like it invested me further. It pulled me in further because I'm like, oh yeah, she's working with like Nova Prime, and this is awesome. Like it's just the two girls against these like military like men.
I thought that too. I thought they were going to play this is a woman trope, kind of us against this
girl power trope. Yeah,
thing. It wasn't. It wasn't that. At
it
all.
wasn't. No, the woman ended up being the mastermind and selling out for Ronan the Accuser because she wanted the power.
Yeah.
So it was a nice twist for me.
Yeah, the ending just seems rushed, and then also too like if Nova Prime is like what was Nova Prime? Like, why do you go through all that trouble if you're trying to reopen the shields? It just seems kind of like a pointless mission.
Well, she was okay to rule under Ronan, and what she said, she was okay to rule under Ronan. Like Ronan promised her a position of power after he kind of took over Xander, because Xander is a trading planet. So I'm assuming Ronan kind of made this gesture that I'm not going to destroy your planet, and I'll give you a position of power still. So she fell for that bullshit, And
then she tried to use it on Nebula, and she's like, "You should have just
you can join us,
me.
yeah."
But I mean,
but here's the thing: Nebula's not going to join because Nebula is a coded being. She was coded once she took that oath. She was not going to step outside of that oath because she was coded that way.
So this is the part confusing. Then, so Yondu gets the schematics to get into the heart to open the gates, which Nova Prime, being Nova Prime, should already have all that stuff, and to steal something that Nova Prime already has to frame nobody because Nebula is just already blacklisted. Because she's not one of them. She's saying she is, which obviously proved in this episode. But why go and why? So Yondu steals this. You have, and what does he steal? Nothing. Blueprints to.
What if Yondu has it to protect Nebula?
But at the same time, I mean, Nova Prime isn't worried about Nebula. She's worried about taking over, working with Ronan to take over this. Nebula,
but she knows she needs Nebula to do it.
Why? She's Nova Prime. Well, how does
she doesn't? You need a cyborg to collect the data.
Here's the theft piece. Like it's like Ocean's 11. So Yondu goes in because they can't find where the passcode is in the city archives and stuff like that. Sure, but that's because probably Yondu probably erased them all. He also got the blueprints of the schematics of the mainframe. The only copy. This is probably why he's being hunted down and stuff, because they're trying to Nova Prime if she can't get access to the archive and the schematics after this deal is made. Somehow Yondu figured out that this deal is being made. And it's like, well, all right, well, I deleted the schematics off of the archives. Has the only blueprint to where it is to open up the planet at some point in time. What he was going to do with it, don't know. He could have brought it, plan on bringing it to Nebula and stuff for all we know. All we know is that
with Yondu
Nova Prime got so desperate that she recruited Nebula to try to figure out and figure this whole mystery out and stuff. She comes across it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say there is no also. I mean, Yondu's Yondu. He very likely could have erased everything to say, "Hey, I've got the codes. You want them, Nova Prime?" He also could
and
have
he
done
was going to
that.
probably try to break into the mainframe and get the codes for himself. Maybe hold him ransom and hostage. We don't know because he's dead. So
But
that's
we
where
know
Nebula
kind of
picks
who
up.
killed him now.
Yeah.
They had to kill Yondu
And they're
because
probably trying to
Yondu
kill
was
him
their
to get
connection
those
to Nebula.
schematics to give to Nova Prime.
But also, he could have been the sacrifice to get Nebula where they needed Nebula to be.
Yeah.
Because Nebula is going to be more invested if it's Yondu.
So
yeah, and the ending, the second half really just for me fell apart. Like it was too many loopholes, and it's.
How many times have you watched it?
I've watched it 3 times now.
Have you really?
2 really invested into it.
Mm-hmm.
1 just casually watched it. So I would change that to 2 because the third time it was on while I was getting my room cleaned up and kind of just tiptoeing in there. So, but watching it, I mean. Yes, Nebula was the cyborg, but so you need a cyborg to get into Xandar's heart. Like it's not even like it was somewhere hidden. Like it's in the Xandarian locker room of where this giant sphere is, where you have to download stuff from. I mean, there's no other cyborg that Nova Prime could have done, knowing that Yondu and the overall goal was to open the gate. It wasn't to let Ronan in through the gate without the gate opening and kind of under the radar so no one saw. It's let's open up the gates that everybody in Xandar is going to see, and so Nova Prime doesn't have the codes no more. Like, hey, I don't have the codes to open the gate. Like,
she never had the codes. So it was like a doomsday device that was the only way to protect the planet. So it was built before Nova Prime was even a thing and stuff, and took her position. So she has the ability to initiate.
5 years.
What's that?
The timeline's only 5 years from when this takes place to when it first is closed. It's only a 5-year gap.
No. I'm saying that doomsday device that
was already built there.
It was already built. She had access to the button. She hit the button, but she doesn't. It's on an automatic time lock and stuff. And so she may or may not know that, or maybe found out later that there may be a way to undo the automatic time lock of 50 years. And then that's the thing. That's the part that I like, the fact that we get this from the perspective of Nebula walking into this mystery. We don't have all the answers and stuff like that. And I myself is perfectly okay with that. I don't need a fully fleshed out storyline and figure out everything's going. But what I do know, and there are some assumptions that were kind of built around, because that's how we operate. We all do. Is that this thing, it was already created as a planetary defense before Nova Prime took her place. She had the ability as Nova Prime, as that position, to protect the planet by hitting that button and locking the planet down. But it's on an automatic timer of 50 years. It will lock you and seclude you from the rest of the universe for 50 years of isolation and stuff. So, and then later, somehow she got corrupted, and that became a race to figure out how to bring down those shields. And that's where the mystery kind of, unfolds. Whether she knew there's a code, I mean, obviously, it would make sense that code would not exist in the archives, because anybody who's corrupted or not have access to the archives can get that code and take it down. So it must be that there's some kind of, it's almost like Indiana Jones, somebody or something, the lures that it lives in the mainframe, which isn't easily accessible. It's a computer that is buried in the bowels of Xandar, the planet, to protect the planet and what it does and stuff. So that's what I took away from that.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I like the episode. I just think, for me, the second half is what really fell apart.
Okay.
All right. You guys got anything else you want to talk about, or we just want to save the rest of our energy for episode number 2 tomorrow?
Let's do episode number 2. Episode 1, I liked it. I gave it a 9. I stay by that after our conversation still. I my in summary is I don't need a fully fleshed out story. I love the fact that we got to see it from Nebula's perspective of piecing together this mystery. I love Black Noir, the film. Is it called film noir? That genre, that detective gritty kind of, love that stuff, that style. So it gave me a little bit of everything I like. So including what Lou said about fleshing out Nebula a little bit more of her being more featured in her personality and who she is. So
I agree about the not being fleshed out, because I did read the What If comics when I was growing up, and they're one and done type of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need a continuation of the story. I don't need to know like what's going to happen next. I don't need closure, so to speak, when it comes to a What If episode, because I'm used to not having that from the comics. It's just a different universe, different perspective, different timeline situation. And it's a quick one and done thing. I don't need closure from it, but
drop in the middle of the storyline and then goes from there. So
it's just something for fun and weird and quirky that you didn't really think could have happened, but hey, we're going to try it anyways and see what could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Knight, closing statements, my friend.
No, I'm ready for the second episode.
You excited?
I don't know if I'm excited, but I mean, I What If is probably my.
Lou hates everything.
I don't hate everything. Jeez, What If? I like What If because of the fact that it is a bunch of. I don't want to use the word nonsense because it's not nonsense, but it's so. There's no
it's
real
not canon.
following for it.
Yeah.
Except I was burnt seeing Captain Carter and Doctor Strange. Like that shit drove me up the wall. I'm so glad that none of those characters survived. When I saw her, I was like, why? Why would you do this? Leave What If to be the magical animation project it is and leave it out of the MCU. If you do bring it in with some really cool reasoning. But other than that, though, What If is a really fun series. I enjoy it. I gave this episode an 8. Probably gonna stick with that. I don't see me going lower or higher, but I'm excited. I'm excited for episode 2.
Cool.
I think that's all we've got for a Marvel Tribe recap of season 2, episode 1 of What If Gamora joined the Nova Corps. Thanks for joining us tonight. And should we do the one team or feel the pulse in your chest so you know you're alive? One team, one love. It's the
Marvel Tribe. Marvel Tribe.
We'll see y'all tomorrow for our next episode.
Peace.